Mag ik dat zo houden of moet ik dat zo houden?
I think to do the light is straight, huh? Then you can hold the camera straight, or can she be in landscape modus? I would hold it straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's start in a minute. Where is my temperature gauge? We'll wait a minute, guys, until some people drop in, and then we'll start this repair here. As you can see, I took the trim that was on the edge here, took it off. Let's get this light here a little closer, then maybe we can have a better view. Actually checking out your repair and estimating what the real damage is very important, because as you will see, there is some damage on the inside as well. So, to make sure that you cover everything that is damaged here on this repair, the trim was all the way up to here. Let me grab the trim for a second. So this was the trim, it's over here. So this was blocking everything away, like you can see, making the repair look smaller than it really is. So why is it so important on this here? If you have quarter panels with trim on the edges, then you really need to take that trim off to make sure that you have all the damage, that you can tackle all the damage. Because if there is damage underneath the trim, it will block you or keep you from pulling out everything you need to get out to get the panel straight again. So like this one here, let's look at the inside before I put the wheel back on. Let me grab it here. As you can see here on the inside, even there is a bend on the inner panel here. So we need to straighten that out first before we do anything else. Check the inside, make sure you take the plastics away, that you know what's going on the inside of those quarter panels. Because if there is a bend on the inside, it will keep tension on the edge. So it is of course not a really big dent this here, as you know. But why is this so interesting? Because there is a lot of things going on here. We have the edge, the outer edge of the quarter panel. We have a body line in here, and the dent goes through the body line and through the edge of the quarter panel. Now, why is it important to tackle it the right way? There are always important steps to follow when you do this kind of repairs. And what is it? If you start glue pulling in the beginning, the GPR system, the thing, we have the tendency to go for the deepest part first. But why is it in this occasion, and in every occasion almost, it is wrong to tackle the deepest part the first time? Because you will get a result, of course. If you pull right here, right now on the deepest part, the metal is going to move. But will it move the way we want it to move? No. And I'll explain you why. All the panel beaters in there following or looking at this later will know that the first thing you need to tackle always are the strongest parts around the dent. Why? Because the sheet metal is like a sheet, actually, a blanket. And the sides, the strongest things keep tension on the blanket. Like this here, this panel edge is pulling and keeping tension on the whole quarter panel. So, that being said, you always need to tackle the strongest parts first before you do anything else. Or at least move metal at the same time, if necessary. So here now, if I would ask you, what is the strongest point in here on this dent? Then of course it is this body line here, down, going into the dog leg. This edge here. Why? Because single sheeted metal is meeting the inner quarter and it's welded together there. So this edge here is stronger than the deepest part of the dent here. And because it's pushed in, we need to bring this out as straight as we can to make sure that we bring the outer edge to the right tension, that the panel or the dent can be straightened out again. So take a look here on what the dent looks like for a second. Katja will come closer, and then I'll grab some tools and see if we can move this metal here to bring the edge out again. 1 second, I'm grabbing some tools. So I've been checking the outside. This is just a tool holder from Snap-on, but it's kind of nice to use now, or a measuring tape or whatever you have in metal. This will do just fine now. It is just to show you how far it's kicked in. So maybe Katja come from above and show them looking down. You see? There is, we count in centimeters. It's almost a centimeter and a half opening there. So we need to make sure that we bring out the edge, that this part is straightened. So as you can see here, it's bumped in, here it's kicked in. So we need to bring out this, but only by hands. Not a lot is moving. So we can do two things now. Or we start pulling with a glue tab. But as you can see, I opened it all up to have access on it. So I'm going to start with a slappy. Always keep it simple first, if possible. I'm using a slappy and a hammer. And you can use a heavier hammer. It doesn't need to be a panel beating hammer as well. Just to make sure you bring it out without causing more damage. These slappies you can use on any shape. You can hit. Nothing will happen because you're protecting the metal. Let's see if we can bring it out and see how far it will move. So let's check and see what we've done here by tapping that. Oh, ik had hier gezet, dat ding van de stuk bloeden. Ah, yeah. Let's see how far we brought it out. See, there's just a few millimeters left just by tapping it with a slappy here. This is double here. I'm going to check on the inside. You can see what I'm doing from the outside. There is one crack here that was keeping it from coming out. So we'll see how far we are. Now the few millimeters that are left, I'm going to show you again here, are dents in the outer sheet. And we're going to see how we can pull them out by bringing back that metal. So, first thing of course, the moment we start glue pulling, let's take a light here that has more juice into it. So if we start glue pulling, of course we want to know what the temperature is. I don't know about you guys, but here in Europe we are 10 minutes from Brussels here, and we're in the middle of the winter. So in Fahrenheit it's 56. Let's switch it to Celsius. It's only 13 degrees Celsius. So we like to be, or warm the whole thing up to about maybe 40, 50 degrees Celsius, and in Fahrenheit around 100. So we need to do some warming before we start pulling. Why? if we do not make the metal or bring the metal and the paint up to temperature, we will be cracking paint and we will be preventing our metal to move as we want because of the cold. The cold is resisting extra. Also the glue does not bite or grab into the paint as we would want if we don't have the right temperature. So give me a minute or two to warm it up and then we'll start glue pulling. A good trick is to feel with your hand. If you still can keep your hand on it, the temperature is quite acceptable for the paint. If it becomes too hot to touch, you need to be careful for the paint you are working on. Because paint has, of course, has its limits. You can burn away paint if you're not careful. So let's check here. I have 62 Celsius. You can see I can still easily hold my hand on that. And if I put it into Fahrenheit, 143. You see? And nothing is going on. It's just warm. It is just ready to start pulling. Now, one thing that we sell too and that I like to do is if you brought the edges to the right place, I always like to give it a pull if it's a big place and you need to move some metal, is use the cold glue system that you have and try to move some metal, because if it's slightly bended and not too strong, there are not too strong edges there, you will be able to already move a lot quickly with that cold glue system. Let's see what happens if we start doing that, because in a lot of big dent occasions cold glue doesn't do a lot, and in some it moves the first part and then you need to glue pull less to get to the last or the deepest parts. Let's see what happens. So if you use this, we've been seeing this online, and the suggestions that they gave is put the cold glue together, squeeze it together, that you have a thin line, and then you can squeeze that into the dented area and see. But as you can see, I have a good bite. Nothing is happening here with that. It is coming. Let's see here, down here. Okay, let's check it now. What did we do here? Let's bring my light a little bit closer. So, the kick in the body line came out. There is still a fairly good line here, but here the deeper kick stayed because, of course, and that's logical, there was a strong kick on the lower part here. We need to pull out this lower kick here before any of the other tension higher up here will release. And it's logical, because here, the stronger the dent is closer to a strong body line, the more resistance it will bring you. So let's try to pull this out now with glue and see how far we can go. I'll put the wheel back on to be able to pry from with the K-bar from the wheel. Okay, now after you've been playing with that cold glue, I always like to use, it's just a small tip here, brake clean. Brake clean is a fantastic product to take off all the residue, all the leftovers from any cold glue that sticks on there. So some brake clean, very cheap product, clean it off and everything's gone. And then you can start pulling. So, let's take a closer look. If you, as a GPR guy, are looking at this, what kind of tab would you start using to pull out that dent? What are you thinking of? If you see this here, and this. So the most important thing is to get this out, and you need to start testing to see how the metal will move. We want to especially be here and take out the deeper part of that dent and see how it moves. Let's see if we can use one of our centipedes. And see how we can... So we have the curved ones, as you know, the stronger, and the more rigid they are, the stronger they are. Well, it actually fits right on top of this here, and there is no stronger pull than this. It doesn't grab into the deepest part, because we need the movable one, but I want to see and feel and test how it moves if we glue this one on here. Let's see what we can do. And for your info, I am using the Cam Auto glue or the collision glue to start glue pulling. There is no stronger glue than the collision glue, and if you can see, look at this here. You see how smoking hot that glue is? If your gun ain't hot enough, it is not giving you a good performance on that dent. So, as you can see here, I need a little bit more in the deepest part here, so I'm going to cheat a little bit and take my glue gun and let it drop in there. And then make sure we give it some time to set. Keep it on there. You do not need to squeeze away the glue, but that ain't gonna happen anyway because of the deeper part, the more important part is anyway far enough away that I can't squeeze anything away from it. But we're gonna see how this one will move. But we need to let it set a little bit, because one thing with the collision glue, it is a very strong glue, also works very good in colder areas, but it needs a little bit more time. We need to at least let it set for a minute, 2 minutes. Colder temperature, like in winter, it sets quicker. But if you pull it too fast, it ain't gonna perform like you would like. And that's not only because of the glue, but also because of the tabs that we're working with. So, as you know, we have these big kind of tabs. And what happens is, you pour out a lot of glue on those tabs and glue them on. And what happens is, all the glue here and all the temperature of the glue is keeping the inner part of the tab with the glue in the middle hotter than a normal tab. A normal hail tab you put on there and it takes like 30 seconds, 20 seconds to set and you can perform. But these tabs here keep the glue hotter. So to have the same set time as that small tab, you need to give it some more time to actually set and cool down to a temperature that it can perform as you would want it to perform. So how can you test that? Not really actually scientifically. What you could do is use your temperature gauge. What did I put mine here? Where are here? See, 78, 85 in the middle, because it is going right to the middle of the, and that's too hot to start pulling. We want to be maybe 40, 35, make the glue cool down that it can perform. So the rest of the car is now 60, 58, 55. So if we would be around 55, 60, that's okay. But now the glue is like here. I can go through with the infrared through the tab here because it's see 83. So that's too hot to start pulling. The outside can be cooled down and set properly, but the inside, because of what I just explained, is too hot to start pulling right now. And then you would have done all this type of work and nothing will happen because you're too fast. Just give it a little bit of time. And then we'll see in a minute how it will perform. Will we be able to pull it out? It is a GPR repair anyway, because there is some paint damage, but we'll see how far we can go without damaging this paint and to bring it out as clean and as good as we can. Let's see if I can grab my tree bar already. So I'm going to be pulling from this wheel here. You might say, why is he taking the K-bar? You can also take the K-beam, put the feet here and here. But with the smaller adapter, grabbing in the middle, not putting pressure on the sides, I really want to tackle the middle. And we'll see how it performs. It is always a surprise, as all of you know. You have in your mind, I like this or this to happen, but we still have to wait on how the metal will move on us and see how it behaves while we are pulling. So let me check the temperature again. So the outside is okay. That's 68 still. That's an advantage of those ice tabs. The infrared goes right through the tab and you measure the inside of the tab temperature. Who has that? Huh? Who has that? So, but my curiosity is taking over. I need to try. Let's see what happens. Okay. So let's see. Can you see how that metal is wanting to move? Let's see how it behaves. Okay. Let's check the inside. Well, it was set enough. So let's take it off, some alcohol, and see what the first. I might have even waited too long here, because it's all set enough to see, even in winter. If you want to take the glue off, heat it up a little bit and then use alcohol. You see, if you bite your nails, you have a problem here. Let's see. And as you can see, all that strong glue, it just right temperature, and then you can just pull it off. Well, it moved a little bit, not a lot. One good trick in the book is, and experienced pullers will tell you this, it might not be the right moment yet, but if a tab doesn't perform and you need to be here, sometimes not pulling this way, but right this way might be the answer to bring it out. Let's see how it behaves if we do the opposite thing than what we did right now. And let's see here. Nothing prevents you to warm it up again in between pulls. And let's see if we can.
Hey, Katya.
Yes.
Yes, Brock.
Let the audience know if they want to go to KikoTabs.com and subscribe to our mailing list. We'll be sending out news about a free Christmas gift if you're in the U.S.
Okay. On what part of the site is it? Let him.
Just scroll to the bottom of the page at kickotask.com.
At the page of while we're waiting, Brock from Kiko is letting us know that there are some free gifts out there. If you want to have gifts and want to know more on kikotab.com, more info there while you're waiting for this glue to set. And it's almost set, as we're gonna, don't walk away too far. You can always go back after this video. Okay, so this might seem crazy for some of you, but see here, this is a nice check on the side. So we pulled this side first. Now this here, this is sticking up, so we need to slap this down after this pull. But I want to see first if we can move it further out, bulk it out first, because if it's out, we can steer it back in by tapping it down and doing some knocking down to steer the metal in the way that we want it to go. Just a little bit more. It is setting 127, so that's obviously too warm. So the surrounding is 60 to 70, and this is 110, and this is 120 still. So to make your glue perform, make sure you're not pulling a wet pull if you need a real strong pull to pull out a quarter, to make sure that you get that damage out. It might even be, if the metal is too strong to pull it out all at once with a bigger tab, that you need to go smaller and tackle it with strong, smaller tabs to bring out edges, and then move and work your way up to make sure you tackle every other part in the dent to bring it out, step by step. So we're going to see how this one performs. If it doesn't act or behave as we want, well, we want to tackle it a different way. But that is just GPR life. That is how it goes. You need to tackle it with a tab, see how it behaves. This ain't working, we'll try another approach, try another tab, and then just make sure you are able to move that metal and see and bring it to the place you want it to be, its original shape. So it is setting. Let's see if we can move it a little bit better to the outside. So I'm just on the tire here, as you can see, and we're gonna try to low. Okay. So the first thing I want to do now is to tap away the little highs that we brought up here with the first pull, and tap it away a little bit. Let's see how we can do that. So there are different ways to start tapping down stuff.
Vad suttit? Prepareringen och követ också. Det är där boven.
So let's see how we can fyllt här där. So we brought it back quite a bit already, but what we want to do now is there are some highs here that are left over from the first pull, and we want to bring them down and flatten them out. So So why am I doing this? It was bulked out like this, squeezing it down on the edge. So without making damage, you can use these slappers because they are concave and rounded. You can use them to make sure, without making damage, you can squeeze it back and bring that edge. Okay. Now we have the knockdowns. So I have some high spots here. Maybe you can film me from the back in the light and see if we can follow along a little bit because they can't see anything over there. I want them to see this high. No, from there. Yeah. You see this high? This one here? Lower. So, don't know if you guys can follow this. I'm gonna try my best to do it because I need to see some stuff as well. There are some highs here. And they are pretty sharp. But we want to flatten them out a little bit before we do any more pulling. Okay, let's pull with some other tabs now and see how they behave here. We have those new metal movers here, that center metal movers. Let's try and see on this deeper part here how this tab behaves with another technique. So take some glue here. Let's see what we can move. So one of the questions you had is how hard do you push? Well, you want to squeeze some glue out away from it, and I always want to make sure that the edges are glued on or the glue releases outside of the tab, as you can see here. Why is that? You want the air to work with you. So if you can pull vacuum, then there is an extra force working with you. If there is the glue inks coming from underneath, then there are open areas that will release easier. So if you can fill the face of the tab with glue and you push it on and just you have an edge of glue on the outside of the tab, it seals the tab from the air, making your pull even stronger. Okay? So this will set faster than the bigger centipede we had. And then we'll try to grab it with our slide hammers. Let me explain again why this spring is here. You have different types of pulling with slide hammers. So you can turn it all the way down that there is no spring tension here at all, then it's a cold snap. And if you want that, if you want the tab to break loose after your tab, you don't want any released tension here. But like this here, while the spring is at half strength, you will allow the tab to pull out before it starts snapping on the end and giving you a way better result, moving a lot of metal. And let's see if we can do that here. Because we want to make sure we move that deeper part here and see how that tab will behave. So, a strong pull here. Let's clean it off. But as you will notice, the closer you are to edges, the more difficult it will become. And you'll see that metal does not just move automatically. Let's bring it up here as well and see if we can move some metal there. Here's my ankle. So if you warm it up again, it just releases just like that. See, this will be normally enough. So, like so. See how it behaves. Let's try to pull it a little bit faster. It is still a little wet, but just what we need here. Okay, so the little wetter pull here was the answer. Let me show you, it is still here. 94, you see that, how hot it still is? I pulled it at 94 degrees. So, we call that a wet pull, and still it performed, you see? You see it bringing out that deeper part? Let's do here the same thing. It's like I was saying, guys, you need to test out what works on the metal you're working on and the paint you're working on, because a completely set glue might not be the best solution for what you are doing. That's why this one here, we gave it a wet pull around 100 degrees and you saw it perform. So let's do it again on the other deep part and see that we can bring it out. So where's my glue here? Again, same amount. Because I'm on the edge here. Be careful if you start touching the glue, because if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get burnt for sure. So again, we're gonna do a wet pull again, and then we're gonna tackle this and this here and see how we can bring out the edge. We want the edge out and see how that edge is behaving to make sure that we can As you can see, it's already the whole thing, the whole kick that we had in the beginning came out. But we want out more. We want it out so we can kick it back in and work it back in with those knockdowns to make sure we can bring it back to original. So again here, I'll always like to feel the edge of the glue. It's still warm. So film me from further away, then they can see what's happening further away. That they can see the sliding. So what I'm doing is here, I'm keeping tension on the tab. The spring is half tension, so that it actually works. Grabbing it, holding it. And now I'm trying to get it. Oh, I can't. You see? What happens actually is, if you have the right temperature, that glue is grabbing in more and more and more and more. And in the end, if I want to release this now, I think I might even rip off paint. But this is exactly what I want to move the metal out. You saw how strong I'm pulling? Well, I need to stop, because look at the line now. If I check it here, let's check it out. You see how far I'm over? I didn't weld on anything, just a tab. Just glue and a tab on paint. You see how far I'm out here? But actually, if you want to bring back that metal to the original position, that is exactly what you need. You need to be over a little bit, then you control how to knock it back. Let's see if I can get it off here. Sit a little bit. Because of the movement of the tab, it actually bended around the edge here. Let me show you here. See that tab here? I did not push it round, but because of me pulling out that metal, it blocked it up, it bumped it up underneath, and it made the metal and the tab move, but that is exactly what we want on this edge here. You see? It actually follows the metal while you are pulling it. And that is exactly what a tab needs to do. If the tab is too strong to move with metal, you cannot bring out metal as you would want it to be. The tab needs to move along. And then I need to get it off, of course. Okay. So, that's how easy it goes. You just need to get a little bit air underneath. But now, let's see what we did. Let's check it out. Let's get all the alcohol off first. And as you can see, I didn't actually so far worry about this line here and this line here, because I wanted to make sure I would get this thing out here. I want to make sure I get my edge back out. I want that strong part to be in its place before I tackle anything here. Because if I pull anything here before the tension here is back right, I will wreck and I will stretch the metal, because I'm moving it to a direction it doesn't want to go, first of all. And to get it there, I need to stretch it on other parts. So if I brought the metal back first here, and it was back where it needed to be originally, and then bring back this complete edge here, what would happen is, I will pull out this, and then all of this would be way too high because I overstretched it. But now, tackling the strongest part only first, brings me back my strong part, and this is still a little bit down. But after this strong edge is back to its original place, then there is no problem at all to lift this last part that I need to lift to get it back to original condition. So let's see what happens. I need some knockdown time now, so I'm gonna let Katja get on the side again, knock it down, try to get it where it needs to be, and then we'll see. Because glue pulling is one thing, but a lot of the technique is in the knocking down. How will you perform on bringing back that metal? It is not as we used to do it as bodymen, I'm in body shops from my 16-year-old, so I changed quarters, welded stuff, spot welders, whatever you want, I all did it. But knocking it down, getting it as close to original, is something completely different than grabbing a body hammer and just smacking it and ruining the paint. So to do that is how we explained. We use softer, rubbery tools. We use polished tools like slappers and hammers that are polished to make sure if we hammer, we do not damage the paint, or even if you repaint even, the more careful you move metal, even if you need to paint it. In a lot of occasions you need to paint, of course, and bondo and whatever, but if you are more careful, you are saving a lot of time and keeping the repair as small as possible. As you can see, we didn't grind anything so far, just bring out metal on paint. So let's knock down a bit now and see what happens. So also we have the R4 or rubbery knockdowns if you want to make sure you don't hurt anything in the metal. So we need to start moving some other stuff now. Make sure we can get this out here and then tackle this and this line. And then we're going to leave this up a little bit because that extra tension is going to help us get this out and this here. So what kind of tabs will we use for that? Well, we have different kind of tabs, and it depends on what type of we have a whole line of dead center technology tabs. We have those very strong crease killer setup, and I'm always scared to start using those to start with because they can pull a body line into metal. That's how strong they are. So I'm going to try with a smaller tab, also in the same family, dead center crease tabs, but a little softer first. And I want to see how they behave on this metal, because it's a very thin metal. We want to see how it behaves before we tackle it with the strongest thing we have. Again, it's like with a tool, you want to go and feel how the metal behaves, and then gradually go up or go down if you know it's too strong. So you need to decide, and that's why we have all those type of tabs, to be able to decide, I want this tab for this, that tab for that, and see how it moves. So let's try a pull here and see how it will behave. And of course we are using a light because I want to be in the center of the dent and I don't want to be outside, because what happens if you're outside of the center with a dead center technology tab, no matter what dead center technology you're using, outside of the center, well, I can guarantee you will double your kind of work you will have on that dent, because that dead center technology will perform anyway, but it will perform outside of the dent and will create more work for you. Instead of releasing the deepest part of the dent, you will have released a high outside of the deepest part. So you'll be denting the stuff or the thing up before it performs. So let's see here. I'm gonna feel and see how it behaves. Okay, nice pull. Let's see what it does here. So as you can see, it left a nice high, exactly where we wanted one. That was where the low was. So, and up here, we want to release this part here and do exactly the same. But I'm not going to knock down this here before I brought up this. So I'm going to leave this up to help bring this up. So we'll see what happens. Same thing. And we might need a stronger tab up here, but I'm going to try to see what this one does first anyway. Okay. This is a flexible blue tab, so it follows the line a little bit. I pushed it down, as you can see, from above and down. That makes it follow the metal a little bit, and then we can pull out the deepest part. So, again, a little bit of a wet pull. I'm not going to let it set completely. So nothing happened really. As I was thinking, I need something stronger here. Let's get it off. So this is what called go and feel what your metal does and how it behaves. So I need a stronger tab. Do I want to go to the crease tabs in centipedes right away? Well, not exactly. We have an in-between tab. And these are the dead center technology crease tabs, normal tabs, and then we have the centipedes. Those are the strongest. And I want to see how this one will perform here with a lifter, not with a slide hammer, because we don't have as much control. Although it worked just fine for us up until here. Let's see how we can put it exactly where it needs to be. Okay. So for the lifters, if you're using robo lifters or electrical lifters or whatever, if you use a slide hammer and shock it, then the vacuum and the air is working with you because you sealed it off, and it's a boom, boom, a rough, heavy pull that you're doing. But if you're pulling a controlled pull with a lifter like these ones, or with our robo lifters, or whatever lifter you want to use, this is the crease setup with one robo. So if you want to do that, you need a lot of strength to make the metal move and to make those feet perform. So you want to make sure that the glue actually is set, because a wet pull will never work with one of the lifters. Because it's obvious, you're holding back the metal and you're just releasing that wet glue from the metal. Wet pulls, or a wetter pull like I did with this one, is boom, shocking it. And then the wet pull and the glue works together. Using lifters, you need to make sure that everything you do is set, because you want all the strength of the glue to perform, pulling that dent inside out. So maybe I'll use the robo and to show you how this thing moves. And of course you want to put the tension on it. Like you see, it can hang on there. You can put your hand into any type of direction you want. And then you want to start squeezing, see? It's like from underneath you're pushing, you want to pull up and make sure that you perform like we just did. You probably heard the snap, and we're going to see the result right away. So, check this out. So, there was a line through here all the way. What we did was just brought the center of the line up. We still have a little bit down here and a little bit up. Not too much. And I'm going to pull that out first and then underneath. But with a smaller one. Smaller dents, smaller tabs. And I think that's pure logic. Let's grab another one here. Just grabbing some stuff to show you what the range of tools that we have. So, all these dead center tabs, all crease tabs in different lengths, but I'm going to switch to these because I don't need longer than this, because they're also already part of the line is up. I'm going to pull this low here, and I want to pull it here, and then this line here, and then bring it back down, see where we are, tackle this here and here, finish it off and see how far out we are actually in repairing this dent. So let's tackle it with some smaller tabs. I think I need to ask Brock this. Brock, do you know, he's on an extra line listening to us and maybe answering some of the important questions you might have. Brock, how many tabs actually do we have? How many tabs actually do we have, you know? I think I was talking to Chris White earlier, and we must be in between 120 and 130 different tabs actually out there on the site. And obviously you understand the reason. It is to tackle every part and every type of dent out there to make sure the performance of your pull is as good as you can get it by using the correct size in tab.
Yeah,
We'll pop.
Match the tab to the shape of the dent.
Exactly. I think Brock will post it and see how many tabs we actually have, because every year we bring out more tabs and the number is growing. But we'll post you how many tabs we actually have. I think we will be champion in the amount of tabs out there. Brock is going to look it up and post it out there. But the reason is clear, isn't it? And let's see how this one will perform now. Same thing again. I forgot to warm it again in between. And let's see what happens here. So, also here, through the line. Don't be afraid to try some stuff, because normally lines you would follow them this way, But let's pull it that way and see what happens. You might be surprised on the performance of the tab if you pull it that way. And then afterwards, we might pull it exactly through the line and let you see how it behaves. So first, this one here. I actually blocked myself a little bit here. So I need to rip off this one. Okay. And now, what is it? See what the result is. And now let's get this one up here. And again, move it up by squeezing it. As you can see, I'm squeezing it. Okay, let's see what the result is. A little bit more, we need a little bit more, but it did something. We're going to do an extra pull here and see how we can knock it down then. Because we've not been knocking down a lot, just pulling up. But that has a reason. You do not always have to knock down every pull you do. Just bring it up first, bring it out. Release the tension from the metal. Let's see what we can do here. Might look as a crazy pull here, straight through that body line, the other way around. But let's see how it behaves if we pull it out. And then we need to do some knocking down, cleaning this up here. But as you could see, the trim is over here. We actually brought out this dent. We need to knock it down that it's clean. But it doesn't need to be 200% underneath the trim. It might as well be, but you know what I'm saying. If it's straight, nice, it will be easy enough to...
Apparently, Brock did a rough count and it was close. We have like 150 different tabs.
150 different tabs.
Yeah, maybe more because there's two different materials. Everything's in blue and ice. You know?
Oh, it might be ×2 then. Okay, so you guys heard it. 150 different kind of tabs. But because we have different materials, the ice and the blue, ×2. So, what about that, eh? Okay, so again with the lifter, but first check, because I forgot to warm it up. It's only 68. But you know what? I can easily warm the metal and the paint with the tab on there. It'll still perform good. A 100. I remember the wet pull we did was around 100. So, but of course the warming up interferes with your glue again. But we're going to pull it anyway and see how it behaves. So I'm going to put my feet here on the line. Remember again, the line is here, the body line. It sounds crazy to go straight through the body line and pull it this way. But anyway, well, let's see what happens if we do that actually. Let's check it out. Do you see this? So a lot of guys ask us all the time. Let me show you this very well in a good perspective here. You see the body line? This one here, exactly that one. I just show you the tab and I pulled it through the line and the tab was pointing this way. You see that? Through the body line, above and underneath. So people ask us all the time, how in the world do you get a low out of a body line just by glue pulling it? You need strong tools to do that, no? Well, let me tell you this. If you do this all the time, you won't bring out the low because the whole line is preventing you to pull exactly that spot. With a small round tab, there is no tension enough on the line and there is no strength enough in the tab. But guess what? Dead center. This way, boom. See that? That is exactly what you want. Okay, now again, let's do some knocking down. And I need my other knockdown here. So these perform, I love these, and the swan, of course, to knock down. My swan is always ready here, waiting to be used. But of course here it's a little difficult to put the swan on the right position. Here it's great everywhere. You can put it this way too, to follow it, to have a steady pull on doors, on roofs. But this material that we have here with the rubber cap on it, you can choose to have it on, to have more of a dead blow, or off to have a cold snap, more metally snap. Let's see how it behaves if we start knocking this down. And I need a little bit of time now to improve the pulling that we did. And knock it down. Because we have those metal knockdowns that we will need later on as well. Let's see that we can knock it down a little bit. I'm not going to knock it away on the body line completely because I want some up tension there. So we need to get more details out on the top. Let's start pulling again. And from now on, guys, it's getting out details is what's important. So you need to decide on how far you want to pull it out before you, if the paint is damaged and you need to put a skim coat on it and use Bondo, it is up to you where you want to stop. But make sure, if you glue pull, like you see, to start attacking it the right way. Strongest stuff first, edges of the lines, then the body lines, then the lower parts, because the lower parts in between, they move anyway. That's just sheet metal, there is no strength in there. But keep them last, because if you start with them, it might be tempting to get out the deepest part of a dent, because hey, I want to dent out, like old bodyman, boom, let's give it a bang and see what happens. But you are destroying your repair. Make sure, tackle it the right way. Strongest parts, body lines, lines through fenders, and then at last you take out details. And then they allow you to take them out easily. So let's pull up some details here that we have left. So I need some more visibility to make sure I'm tackling it exactly the right way. Okay. And then here. Okay. And as you can see from here, if I follow them through the line, you can see through, I'm following the light here, but it's exactly the line that was in there that we are pulling details out now. As you can see here, I need to do this lower, this here, but hey, I'm tackling out, I'm pulling out lines now and details in those lines with smaller tabs, and we'll see what happens if we do that. Make sure all the time, of course, as you've seen, we cannot say it enough, clean the 6 C's. One of the important things in the 6 C's is, you know what the most important thing of the 6 C's is? Maybe write it to Brock. What is the most important thing in the 6 C's? Do you see answers, Brock?
Oh, sorry. What, John?
The question is, what is the most important thing in the 6 C's? Brock says clean. It's a tricky question, I'm sorry. I had him, of course, but guess what? It's the 6 C's. It is the 6 C's. No matter what, it is the 6 C's. Follow the 6 C's. There is no such thing as this is the important step. If the temperature is not okay, the temperature is not okay. If the tab is not okay, it's not a good tab. If the glue is not okay, it's not good glue. If the gun is not okay, it's not okay. So you respect those 6 C's, and that makes it into the perfect repair or the best possible repair at that time. So there is no such thing as make sure this step is the best one, because you need to follow the 6 C's. Sorry to have... So, it's all good, he says. But the glue ain't wasted if the tab cooled down. You can just, I can make it, but this is so hot that I can just take the tab back off again. So the temperature is something you control, so use it. Let's see what happens here. Let's pull out the low. Okay. And then here this top one. Okay. Let's take it off. You could see there was a low here. The low is gone. It's a high now. It's now up to me to knock it down. There is a low there, but as you can see, the finer we go, the more centered exactly that tab needs to be. A little bit on the side, so I wasn't centered enough here, because you see the center of that line is in there, very thin. You need to be exactly on the money, or you're not pulling right. So let's see, we still have smaller tabs. Maybe I'm gonna use a real thin one here to show you. So let's pull it and see what happens with this one here. But of course, it's logical. If you are not using a light, you are missing out. Because without the light, you see I have shop lights in here, but if I switch off this light here, so if I switch off this light, then you might say, look at it. What is this guy doing? It's okay. You can start working it. What is he doing? But if you light it up, show detail, and you say, ooh, there is some work to be done here. So make sure you use a right light to watch and look at details while you're repairing. So this was okay now. As you can see, I was right on it. It lifted a little bit. You don't need to pull a tower, of course. Lifting that little detail is just okay. This one here. Okay. I always check before I start pulling here and see how it behaves. And then again, what you can do by pulling those feet out or in is you put those feet closer to the tab if you would just want to pull a strong line and then bring it out like this here. But if you look at it from farther away, a little bit further, and you see how I'm actually bringing up that metal, you see how hard it's moving, how the quarters is moving. I'm allowing the tab to move the metal in different phases. And then, okay. Because if you do, and that's maybe an important thing to mention, like it's up now, that's okay. That's great, that's exactly what I wanted, a little high there, that the line is out, you see? There's a little high line there, and that's exactly what I wanted to get that dent out. One thing you need to, in most occasions, some trainers are teaching to use a lifter as a slide hammer, to do like if you pull, boom, pull out the dent. In some occasions, if you would want that, you might want to do that, but we recommend strongly that it is a tension tool. So you have a lot of power in here. Why wouldn't you allow the metal to come up and up and up and lift it as high as you want it to be, and use all the force in the tab and the glue that you have available at that time to perform as good as it can? By just doing boom, doesn't do that all the time, because the metal needs to move. It's like with a tool. If you have a push tool and you start pushing from underneath, you don't do this either. You don't go like boom and pull out a dent. No, you want to go and feel the dent and then start massaging it and then bring it up, and while it starts moving, you can push it higher and higher and higher. So with a tab, it's the same. If you want to use a tension tool like a robo lifter, make sure you control the pulling after the glue is set properly, of course. Like as we have seen, a wet pull ain't a pull that is set completely. So those are different things to respect. Okay, let me knock it down here. Let me show you first what we did here. So this is the line that we brought up here, and underneath as well, that line was in there, so we brought up a high. So we need to clean it up now, knock those things down, and then get them out.
Dat is me wel dat ik kan afkussen.
swivel pivot tips. I like to use it in Knockdown as well. What am I doing here? I'm not just banging on it, but there was a big crown here around the dent left over from the impact. We need to, of course, blend it away, but we don't want to cause damage. So using rubber makes it cleaner and easier, or the 360 tip you can use on those crowns as well and blend away. But make sure before you start blending, you want to go and feel the metal first all the time. Because even with those polished parts, you can hit and make dents or divots in the metal. If you start feeling it easily, going harder and harder, then you can start hitting it without denting it, but make the big crown in that metal move to its original space again. With these, of course, the sharper the knockdown, the more risk do you have to knock in small dents. Again, go and feel first. You knock easily first, and then you go and feel, oh, now my metal is moving, I'm not denting it, I can move away and move away those highs in the metal. And that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna start or finish this one off here, because I have some details left. Real sharp, thin line here that I wanna pull up. And after that, guys, I'm gonna give you maybe 10 to 15 minutes to answer some questions to you, and I'm gonna finish it with some polish and so bring back that or put that trim back on and see how it looks. I'll post the result tomorrow because it's gonna take me some detail and some extra work because it's already, what time is it, Katja?
8:30
8:30, so
in the
it's
evening.
already an hour and a half. Some of you might find it's taking too long or whatever, but it slows me down a little bit to explain all this. But actually, if you would tackle this fast, as you can see, with all the talking, in only an hour and a half I brought it all the way out. So it is far enough out now to skim it a little bit and to paint it, and we saved the quarter, and it was quite a deep kick. So we're gonna finish it off better, but I'm gonna take my time a little bit on it, taking those little tabs, taking all those details out. So, but it's up to you. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to finish? So I'm going to glue pull one more time, think about some questions maybe that you have, and we'll answer them. And then tomorrow I'll post a video or a shot or some video from the result of the repair. Okay? Think about a question. I'll be back in a few minutes after the last pulling that we did, and then we'll have to close off this live. Thanks again for watching, everyone. But we know from all the messages we get that a lot of you are eager to learn more about glue pulling, and I think a live is a perfect way to do that because you see all the steps, you have extra questions, you want to, hey, what if this, what if that, what happens? So if you have questions, please just drop them in the group and then we'll answer them to you, even live now. Think of a question, give them to Brock, and then we'll be answering them in 5 minutes. I'm going to do an extra pull, we'll stop them, and then give you some time to answer some questions, okay? And of course we have these in blue as well. They flex more and they pull a thinner line even. So I want to see how this one behaves. But as you can see, that bud line is almost perfectly back and it squashed it with a straight line through it. And you saw today, how do you bring that out? And of course it's logical, the thinner the line, the more you need to be exactly on the money to bring out those dents. We have a better for that one. A better foot, more stable. Okay, let's get it off. You see, I'm exactly with that thinner blue material, exactly on the money. I lifted out the center of that line, as you can see, exactly what I needed. And then on the bottom, I need to do some more cleaning up. But as we said, it's almost 9 o'clock here at night, so we're gonna call it a day here and finish it tomorrow. I'll post the result tomorrow of the finished product. And let's talk to Brock here and see if we have some questions that you want answering.
What's up?
Do you have some guys having questions that they want answered, or?
The only question one guy asked was heating up the tab, heating up the panel so that you don't pull paint. So maybe you could talk a little bit about pulling paint and the risk.
Yes. The safest thing to do on panels is to warm them up in the 6 C's, as we said, because if you are pulling cold on cold panels, the colder the paint is, the more stiffer or harder it is. So if you do not warm up that paint to 30, 40 degrees Celsius or around 90 or 100 Fahrenheit, you have way more risk to pull paint or to chip off paint. Even we know today, original OEM paint allows you to pull like a bull on it. If you warm it up, use the right glue. Like, why do we use or like to use Camolor glue? It's, you see, it is one of the most flexible glues and has a strong pull. So, but the flexibility, the rubberiness of this glue allows you to move with the paint and the metal and to bring it out. So all of that helps to not crack paint. Of course, will you never pull paint? We cannot guarantee that, because the bigger the dent is that you repair, the bigger the impact was in a lot of occasions. and some of the impact on paint makes the paint release from the metal. So of course, if you start glue pulling strong on that paint, on that metal, and you want to move up that metal, because it's kind of crazy really today what we are glue pulling. As you could see, with only glue there is nothing of the paint off, and I need to knock it down because it's too far out. So glue allows us to pull metal, and there is paint in between. Of course, all the force is on the paint, and the paint sticks to the metal. So creating the right temperature is one of the most important things of the 6 C's. But as we said before, all of the 6 C's are necessary to make strong pulls. So I don't know if you have any more questions on that topic. Also on the glue here, you need to make sure your glue gun is as hot as possible. And a lot of glue guns just with batteries don't perform or give you a hot enough temperature to melt that glue. So I'm going to show you here what kind of temperature I'm working with right now. Let's see, where is my gauge here? Oh, let's see that we can fill a tab here and measure it right away. Open it up here. So let's see if I can measure it right away. You can see how hot the glue pours out, and then I'm checking it right away. 370, you see that? Fahrenheit. 370, it is coming out. So that is how hot, in between 300 and 370 Fahrenheit, and of course in Celsius, that would be 200 degrees almost. So, if the glue does not come out hot enough, it is not bonding enough on the paint. One of the best things to have a very strong and bonding is what I'm doing in a lot of occasions, is not polishing up, but it is with a grit in there. It's like it's to polish to
peel?
No, it's not. It's not. I'm always saying polishing, but what do you really? A compound. That's exactly it. So it's a compound. It's not a polish. There's not, of course, no silicones at all, because if there is silicones on the paint, it will prevent you from pulling. It will release right away, and then it's a car that's been in the car wash its whole life. Then with a compound, I'm using Rupes for almost all of my polishing or compound polishing. If you use this with a small polisher and clean the dent before you start pulling, there is no stronger pull whatsoever after the preparing of the 6 C's and the compound polishing to make sure you have a strong pull. So that being said, on glue, adhesion, I'm sure there are a lot of more questions, but if there are, just post them in the group and we'll get back to you and answer them. We're going to be online soon with more info on the GVF handles and some extra answers questions being answered on, I bought the handle before, can I switch it into the magnet, new connecting handles? Yes, you can. We'll be online very soon with info on that topic as well. So, Brock, if there are no more questions, we're going to finish it off here. We're good. We're good? Thanks for following up.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for helping me here. And we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.